If you are building a larger Express.js app, you should not be handling all your routes in one file. In this video, I'll show you how to organize your routes efficiently using Express.js modular routing. We'll break down the routes into smaller manageable files to keep your codebase clean and scalable. Hi, my name is Alex. I am a senior software engineer with years of experience in API development. My goal is to help you become a more skilled and proficient developer. Let's get started. I am in Node Express.js project. Let's add a few routes to our app. As usual, the link to the code will be in the description. First, we're going to define the routes in API test.http file. We already have the health route in here. Let's paste a few more routes. These routes will be used to list tasks to get task by ID, to list projects to get project by ID, and to list tasks by project. You may also notice that we are using v1 in the path to denote the version of the API. When we come up with a second version of the API, we can namespace and develop the routes under v2 while keeping version 1 still intact. This will allow the API users to take their time to transition from version 1 to version 2. Let's go ahead and implement the routes we just defined. However, if we put all these routes in one file, server.ts in our case, that will be not very manageable. The better approach is to use a modular routing, basically creating a folder structure for the routes. So let's go ahead and create index.ts file in src routes v1 folders. We're going to place all our routes in the routes folder and in the v1 folder for version 1 API implementation. We're going to put the following code in index.ts file we just created. This code defines a modular API router for version 1 v1 of an Express.js application. It imports two subroutes, tasks and projects. These routers handle task-related and project-related routes, respectively. The v1 router uses these subroutes by mounting them at the /tasks and /projects paths. Finally, the v1 router is exported for the use elsewhere in the application, allowing easy organization of routes. Now let's go ahead and define our tasks routes. We will create index.ts file in src routes v1 tasks. Let's put the following code in this file. This code sets up a simple Express.js router for handling task-related HTTP requests. It imports Express and two controller functions, listTasks and getTask, which manage retrieving task data. A router instance named tasks is created and two routes are defined. Get / calls list tasks to retrieve a list of tasks. Get / :id calls get task to retrieve a specific task by its ID. Finally, the tasks router is exported for use in other parts of the application. Now let's create a controller.ts file in src routes v1 tasks folders. Let's put the following code in here. For now, we're just going to go for a naive implementation. This code defines two functions, listTasks and getTasks, using the Express.js framework. These functions handle HTTP requests and send JSON responses. listTasks, when called, it responds with a status code of 200 OK and an empty array in JSON format representing an empty list of tasks. getTask, this function also responds with a 200 status code and returns a JSON object containing a single task with ID of 1 and name task1. Both functions use request and response types imported from Express, ensuring the request and response objects are typed correctly for TypeScript. Now let's create routes for the projects. But before we do that, if you are learning something new from this video, please like and subscribe to our channel to help YouTube recommend it to more viewers. In the same way as with the tasks, we are first going to create index.ts file in src routes v1 projects folders and put the following code. This code sets up Express.js router for handling routes related to projects. It imports necessary modules from Express and functions from the controller and defines 3 routes within the project's router. Projects.get / this route triggers the list projects function, which returns a list of all projects. Projects.get / ID. This route calls the get project function, which retrieves a specific project by its ID, passed as a URL parameter. And projects.get / ID / tasks. This route invokes the list project tasks function, which returns tasks associated with a particular project identified by its ID. Finally, the project's router is exported as the default export for use in other parts of the application. Next, let's go ahead and create project controller in src routes v1 projects folder. In the controller, we will define functions that will handle the responses related to projects. List projects responds with a 200 status code and an empty array in JSON format representing an empty list of projects. Get project returns a 200 status code and a JSON object containing a single project with ID 1 and name project 1. List project tasks responds with a 200 status code and an empty array representing an empty list of tasks for a project. The functions use the request and response types from Express, ensuring TypeScript types are enforced. The tasks and projects routes are defined. Now all we have to do is to use them in a server.ts file. Let's open server.ts file. We're going to import v1 router from a module located in the /routes /v1 file. And towards the bottom of the server function, we're going to mount v1 router on the /v1 path. This means that all the routes defined in the v1 router will be accessible under the /v1 URL path. Let's go ahead and save the changes. Now we can start our server with npm run dev and test the routes. Let's go to API test.http file and let's send get task request. And as you can see, we got a response OK200 with an empty array. Let's check the task by ID and we got a response with ID of 1 and the task name task1. Let's test the project routes in the same way. We get an empty array for get projects route. Get project by ID route gets project with ID of 1. And finally, the get projects task endpoint will give us an empty array with a response 200 OK. That's a wrap on Express.js modular routing. Now you know how to keep your routes clean, organized, and scalable. I hope you found this helpful and will be able to use modular routing in your Express projects. Don't forget to check out the other videos in Node Express.js series to level up your Node and Express.js skills.